in the Old Testament, there's a scene where the Israelites are in a battle, and Moses is standing there and he's holding up the staff of God. And as long as he's holding it up, the Israelites are winning.
Yes.
But as the day goes on and it's hot, he gets tired, his arms start to weaken and fall, and the Israelites start to lose. And then two guys, Aaron and Hur, come up next to him and they each grab his arm and they lift it up. And then the armies are victorious. I feel that our job is that of Aaron and Hur, holding up the arms of Moses. So we want to be really holding up the arms of our authors who have messages to take to the world.
Yeah.
And that's really where our calling is.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where we believe in the empowering you to live your best audacious life ever. I'm your host, Audley Stevenson, and it's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights and inspirations with you. Now, I really want to take this opportunity to thank you for you taking time out of your busy day to join us on this journey. Today, we're diving into the deep world of publishing and storytelling, and we've got an incredible guest that will help us navigate that. His name is Everett O'Keffe. Now, picture this. You're embarking on a journey across uncharted waters, fueled by passion and determination. Just as explorers navigate through the unknown, Everett took his own leap of faith from a marketing background to become a respected publishing expert. His story is a testament to the power of courage and reinvention, and really highlights the importance of storytelling and creating compelling narratives. Everett now realizes, or emphasizes rather, that the heart of any great story lies in fusing wisdom with engaging storytelling. He debunks the common misconception that a first book must be a masterpiece, encouraging aspiring authors to view their work as a valuable tool rather than a final destination. He motivates listeners to overcome their fears and take action in writing their books, reminding us that every journey begins with the first step, or in the case of the book, with the first word. He really glad to have him here with us. Everett O'Keffe is a seasoned author and a founder of Ignite Press, where he's helped hundreds of authors share their messages with the world. His mission is simple: to empower people to elevate their voices through the power of public works. It really is an insightful conversation. Everett has lots to share. So without any further ado, let's turn it over to our chat. Enjoy. Hey, Everett, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. It's great to spend the time with you like this, so thank you.
Hey, I am super excited. I've been listening to some episodes of yours, and you have a fantastic podcast. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I've been on a little roll the last few years, and I'm gonna definitely keep it going. Call it a labor of love. It's
Hey,
something
I'm going to stop you and brag you up to your listeners. Okay, because you've got almost 500 episodes. You started about 5 years ago. A pace of 100 episodes a year is insane, and you are to be congratulated. So keep up the great work. I just wanted your listeners to, if they stumble on one episode, for them to know you've been in the trenches and you've been doing it.
There you go. Well, I thank you for that, and I extend my appreciation. I feel blessed to be able to engage in dialogues with great people like yourself, who have something of insights or information or of knowledge to share with the world, and which I think is a kind of nice segue into your work, because you're in the publishing field, and you help to facilitate or navigate stories to be shared with the world. And so I guess you and I are on a similar platforms in that regard, or similar approaches.
Different medium, but the same mission.
Hmm. Hmm. And while I've have almost 500 episodes, yeah, you've got over 200 books, right? And that's a big deal too.
I don't think I'm ever going to catch up to you, though. I think you've got just an insurmountable lead, oddly.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay, great, no problem. Anyhow, to be commended nonetheless, Everett. So to give you your props now, what I'd be really curious about is how did you land there? How did you end up in that direction of sort of so publishing and storytelling?
Yeah, so pretty random. I did go to school. Like my undergraduate was in English literature. I did master's level work in English literature and then fled it for the business world and never thought I would use any of that again. And wandered around the business world for a few decades. I had a successful vocational rehab business. And a friend of mine approached me and he said, "Hey, you've helped market your business. Why don't we work together to market other people's businesses?" So we started a marketing company called The Solution Machine. The whole idea was, hey, you have a problem? We have a solution.
Right.
Okay. And we did all sorts of random stuff and to help people. And I remember we had gone to a series of conferences, different marketing conferences, and I had gone to one by myself. And I was just inspired. I'd met a number of people that were best-selling authors. I learned some publishing strategies from them. And I remember driving back to Fresno, and I called my business partner. I said, "Hey, we need to write a book tomorrow. Tomorrow let's meet together. Let's write a book." And he's like,
Right.
"Well, okay, what are we going to write it on?" I said, "I don't know. We'll figure it out tomorrow." So we met in the conference room, and at the time we were doing video marketing. So we said, let's just write a book about video marketing. And we sat down, we wrote down, actually, we dictated um, frequently asked questions about video marketing.
Okay.
And that became the transcript for a book called The Video Tractor Beam. And our mission was to write, publish, and launch the book within 30 days and to make it an Amazon bestseller.
Okay.
And gosh darn it, if 30 days later we weren't sitting there looking at Amazon and the book was sitting over the top, it was number one in small business marketing, number one in entrepreneurship, beating Malcolm Gladwell and Dave Ramsey
Wow.
and John Maxwell and all these people. And it was at that point, I think, that we went, holy cow, like this works.
Right.
And maybe we should be doing this for our clients.
Was that after you pinched yourself? Because I would imagine it was a pinch yourself moment.
Absolutely. Well, I pinched myself first when I just saw my book on Amazon,
Right.
right? Because that's just crazy enough.
Sure.
Like to see it there, then to see it on the page, same page with these greats, and then to see it beating these greats for a time. Um,
Mm.
so that became the beginning of Ignite Press. We had people coming to us. How did you do that? Could you do that for us? I've been thinking about writing a book, or I've been writing a book for 3 years. How'd you do this all in 30 days? All those things. So that started it. I never envisioned I would own a publishing company and that we would have published a couple hundred authors, and it's really incredible.
And I think it's fair to also mention that you're an author yourself of a best-selling book, right? Let's not downplay
Yeah,
that.
well, and yeah, I mean, obviously, you can't go down the road too far. I honestly, though, it was after that book, which, by the way, is a really pretty cruddy book. Honestly, the first
Really.
first one we did, um, it did everything we wanted it to accomplish. But I look
Sure.
at it now and I go, oh wow. But yeah, so I went on and we published 30 other authors' books before I finally came back to going, oh wait, I should publish a real book for about publishing. And so then I wrote this book, The Power of the Published. And this is the one that we became an international number one bestseller, and we've been having so much fun with.
Beautiful, beautiful. How did I'm curious how your own personal journey has helped and aided you to be able to usher in stories of others?
Yeah, it definitely has because one of the things that like, okay, I'm on a stage now with you, right? You and I are on a stage.
Yeah.
It's a podcast stage. I'm not really interested in being on the stage. Like, I don't want to be the front guy. I'm just doing it enough to help support the business, right? To do the things that need to be done to support the business. I really would rather elevate other people's messages because people are called to deliver messages.
Yes.
And the best example I've got from this of this oddly is it came to us in the second year of publishing books is in the Old Testament, there's a scene where The Israelites are in a battle, and Moses is standing there and he's holding up the staff of God. And as long as he's holding it up, the Israelites are winning.
Yes.
But as the day goes on and it's hot, he gets tired, his arms start to weaken and fall, and the Israelites start to lose. And then two guys, Aaron and Hur, come up next to him and they each grab his arm and they lift it up. And then the armies are victorious. I feel that our job is that of Aaron and Hur, holding up the arms of Moses. So we want to be really holding up the arms of our authors who have messages to take to the world.
Yeah.
And that's really where our calling is.
Yeah, no, and it's powerful and a great illustration as well because I think it's you're stepping into a role of support, of aid, of guidance. You've got this expertise in the publishing field that allows you to navigate potential pitfalls and for your clients, and that I'd imagine that you're dealing with a lot of first-time authors, right? Who've never done this thing before, who've just said, "Hey, I want to write a book, I want to tell a story, I want to have a message to share, but I don't know how to do it."
Yeah, that's exactly right. And which also makes our job even kind of more sacred because it's their baby.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's their first book. It's their baby. And they need extra hand-holding and guidance. Most of our authors are speakers, coaches, consultants, business executives, medical professionals, people who have a message that they want to put into the world that's really going to help facilitate their business and brand, right? That's really who we're working with.
yeah.
Um, so we're publishing primarily nonfiction books, and we're doing it in such a way where they own everything.
Right.
And where it happens not in 30 days, but in 90 to 120 days, compared to traditional publishing, which is now like 18 to 36 months, like is
Mm,
you hear more and more. So we're doing it in a way that helps facilitate them, and then that book becomes this great lever in their business, right? It's this great force multiplier that they will use in all aspects of developing their business, their
sure.
clientele, and all of that. And so that is also part of it. Like that's really I feel like my calling and what we do with it.
I love it. I love it. Individuals who I believe we start talking about the different individuals that you work with. The ones I believe really can benefit from the power of publishing are those in leadership roles, leadership positions, from an expansion of their influence standpoint, if you will, right, and really being seen as that noted professional or expert in their field.
That's right. In fact, you just hit on, one of the greatest benefits of publishing a book is that authority that comes with having published a book. You become a recognized authority in your field because you wrote and published the book. In fact, we kind of joke around. It's like, hey, would you rather be the guy who read the book or the guy who wrote the book? And obviously, guy who wrote the book sounds better.
Sure.
Um, and that is it. It's a way for people to expand their message, expand their reach, have greater authority, and gain access to a whole different level of clientele and relationships and
Mm,
connections. And then also, right, people who are writing books and publishing books for their business, they're creating something that is the most durable marketing tool ever created. Okay. We have been reading books for millennia.
sure.
And I love podcasts. I think podcasts are really important and valuable. Um, 20 years from now, I'm not sure what happens with the podcast. 10 years from now, I'm not sure what happens with it.
Mhm.
Um, but books seem to have lasted and they'll outlast our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And I can create the most powerful marketing video, the coolest viral tool. And even if it goes major viral and does amazing things on Instagram, uh, a month from now, 2 months from now, I don't know. But
Yeah.
a book will
Yeah.
still be here.
Yeah.
The book will still be here shouting the expertise of the author to those who find it.
Yeah, and I think again, and so it goes right back to the point around influence. The other I word I'll incorporate is the impact, right? Like the impact of a good book, like and what it has the ability to do. I'll read a book and love it, and and if I've taken something, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it to family and friends, or tell someone about it, or get on a podcast and talk about it, right? Like these things is natural, and so now your impact grows, and I, have the author, have no idea. So we're saying before we got going, we're talking about podcasting. I was like, I've got no idea what my analytics are. I'm not my numbers are. I'm just putting it out there, and it's the same kind of thing. You're not. You just you trust in your message, right? You develop your message. You trust it's representative of what you want to say and what you want to share. You put it out, and then you see what happens.
Yeah, and you have no idea like the crazy stuff that can happen as a result of you sharing your message. I'm sure oddly you have bumped into people who go, "Wait, you're that guy? I've listened to that podcast. Like, are you kidding me?" Or you hear somebody who says, "Hey, because of the podcast you did, I did this in my
Right,
business, or
right.
I did this in my life." Like your last episode, or a couple of episodes ago, the gal who teach people how to say nope. And I thought that was great and insightful. And someone goes, "Hey, because of that, I learned how to set boundaries in my
Mm,
life. Thank
yeah,
you, oddly,
yeah,
right?"
yeah, yeah.
Um, that is the craziest stuff that we call that I call it the you never know factor.
Yes,
Um,
it's true. You
and
never
it
know.
it happens with podcasts and it happens with books. Um, we had this gal, and we call her Cindy because I wasn't given we changed the names to protect the innocent and all that.
Sure, sure.
She came to me oddly with a book, and she said, "Hey, I'm at the finishing stages of writing this book. I'm supposed to attend an international conference in Dubai
Yeah.
in like 6 weeks. Is there any way we could finish my book so I could just take it with me and give it to a few people?" And it was like on medical tourism or something.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, let's see what we can do. So sure enough, she boarded the plane with, I don't know, 5, 10 copies of her book.
Wonderful.
And she got there, and on the first day, she handed those copies out to some key people. And again, she was just attending this conference. That night, she's walking through the lobby or whatever, and she sees somebody reading her book, and she's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
that's cool."
yeah.
Um, the next day, someone approaches her, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your book." And that happened a couple more times through the conference. And here's the fallout. Before she left the conference, she had a paying client who was hiring her. Also, as a result of this, she got asked to participate in a college textbook on the topic, which now, of course, you realize puts her with the academia
Yes,
experts.
yes, yes.
Um, and she ended up getting 2 or 3 paid clients through the year. And then one of them sponsored her to come back and speak at that conference the next year.
Wow.
So because of her book,
Mhm.
and also her, she's amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But she will tell you her book really helped move her from, set her on the international stage as a result.
Beautiful. No, that's a beautiful story, and again, the power of books. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had people say, "Hey, I listen to podcasts, da da da, and this is what it did for me," so I can totally relate to that. I haven't had anyone that stopped me on the street and say, "Hey, you're that guy." I haven't had that. Mind you, I did have someone once that said to me, "We're in line up for something," and she out of the blue, she said, "You should have a podcast."
Nah.
And I'm like, I've got 300 episodes actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that's all I
Yeah, you
got.
pull out your phone and show her the iTunes app or whatever, and you're like, "See,
That's
yeah, I
it.
think I did."
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Everett. If you think about again from your experience, if you think about sort of key elements that transform a good story into a bestseller, what sort of key things do you think are important to exist?
Well, I think that the good and the bad thing about bestseller status is it isn't necessarily an indicator of the quality of the book.
Okay.
There are lots of books that have become bestsellers that are not particularly good. They were just marketed well, and marketed strategically. And you'll see that. But I think what makes a great book is the infusion of wisdom and story, the two things together. wisdom by itself is really hard to just keep reading. Let's just take it. Let's like if sticking with the biblical theme. If you try to read the book of Proverbs all in one shot, it's full of incredible wisdom and
Right.
no story and no little to no story. And you're like, oh man, I can't do it. Okay. Um, and I love to read stories, but stories without wisdom after I'm done, I'm like, oh, why did I spend my time doing that? I mean, was that valuable? It was fun, but was it valuable? The two together, the two together are incredibly powerful. So for authors working on their books, infusing their wisdom with story, whether it's their own story or it's their clients' stories or something like that, I think is really powerful. And most of the best books we've ever read, have that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great, and it's a great combination, and especially when you think about that story, the story element, that's really what resonates with people, right? When they think about, all that was, they read this book and they think of what stood out for them. It's that story because, and then if it creates an emotional connection that people can relate to, they're never forgetting it at that point, right? It's staying
Yeah.
with them for life, right?
Yeah, it's probably the reason I remember, I remember talking about different books, How to Win Friends and Influence People and The Lord of the Rings. Like take those two books. They're both infused with story and wisdom, and that's why I remember them. I can't remember 99% of the other science fiction books and
Right,
fantasy books that I've read, sadly. Okay, but I will remember the ones that have important lessons in them.
for sure, for sure.
And so yeah, it's so true. The great thing is oddly is that now like publishing is more accessible than it's ever been.
Mm,
And those people who've thought about writing books and using ones in their brand, it's accessible, it's doable, it is available. Um, and yet, despite that, authorship still carries that same mystique and authority. And for anyone who wants to do speaking, you've encountered this, I'm sure, oddly. The first question when you're talking to an event organizer, they'll say, "Oh, great, what's the name of your book?"
yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
crud,
yeah,
I don't have a name on my book." You know,
yeah.
you know, it's so common. But once you have a book, these doors, doors
Yeah.
open.
And it leads, yeah, and it just leads to your expertise, right? Like, I mean, you've got a book because you're an expert on top and you got something to say, right? And so you must have a book, right? Like,
Right. Yeah, that's right. And but the great thing is also, and oddly, if we can go into this, there are different publishing models that
okay,
make
sure,
this more accessible for
sure,
people. Like people are familiar, they've heard of traditional publishing. What they don't know about traditional publishing, most of them, is that if you do go down the traditional publishing route, first, it's incredibly hard to get picked up. You have to have a huge number of followers and track record because the publisher doesn't want to take any risks.
right,
Um, they own your IP. When
gotcha.
right, they give you a contract or whatever, suddenly they own your IP.
Mm,
So you don't have the freedom to use your intellectual property that you created really in the way you desire. You pay too much to buy copies of your own book, and you're hindered as to what you can do with those copies. You get
gotcha.
paid too little when your book sells, usually under a buck, and that's only after a whole lot of expenses have been paid back.
Yep.
And that time frame is brutal, that 18 months to 3 years time frame.
Mm,
And that's normally like for people in the business world, like I'm not going to wait a year and a half to 3 years for the best marketing tool I could ever
right.
create
To help
to
me now. It's
land
supposed to help
in
me. It's
my
supposed to help me
business.
right now. I gotta wait three
Yeah, I
years for
want it
it.
now. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for most of our clients, it's like, well, we can't do it now, but we can do it next quarter. Like we can be launching next quarter. And then self-employment or self-publishing is great. But yeah, because you own everything, you get all royalties, you have complete control, you get your books at cost, all
Yep.
of those wonderful things, but you have to do everything. And of course, if you do any one of those things substandard, the whole project can be a disappointment.
Right.
So we sit in an area of publishing called hybrid publishing, and hybrid publishing, even that has a spectrum. There's some hybrid publishers that are akin to traditional.
Okay.
We're closer to self-publishing because what we do is we set up the author's book in accounts that they own
Okay.
so that they have complete creative control. They have complete ownership of it. They get their books at cost. They can do anything they want with their books, sell them back of room, put one on every seat where they speak, give them to clients, prospects, whatever. Um, and at the end of the day, we send them all their files, logins, credentials, everything. So they own their IP and have control of it.
Yep.
Um, and so I think for a lot of people who are thinking of publishing a book, especially in the business world, it's good to know that middle option is there, that it doesn't have to be, wait, either I sell my soul to traditional or I have to do absolutely everything in self-publishing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Good to know there's a middle ground. It fits a lot of needs. In fact, we get a lot of people who come to us from traditional. Like
Okay.
they did their first book that way, and then they didn't like what they didn't get from the traditional, and they're like, I want to own all this. So let's go the different route.
Again, when you're having to do everything, right? There's no question it's overwhelming. I mean, look, writing the book, if you're an author, you should be focusing your energy and time on delivering and creating a great product that's representative of you. If you're thinking about this and then all the 12 other things that need to be done as part of the process, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, that would be kind of like, do I want to learn computer programming
Okay.
or do I want to hire an IT guy who knows this stuff already? Which one's going to be more successful? And for most of us in our businesses, we've got bigger fish to fry. We have our areas of unique giftedness, our superpowers, and we should be leveraging those superpowers and delegating the things that are not our superpowers to other people who it's their superpower.
Yeah.
So that's the other part about what we do is we feel like we're allowing people to continue to work in their area of unique giftedness,
Got you.
which
Got you.
which isn't to say there's not work to be done, because
Right.
we
Yeah.
still need our authors to review the things they're like
Yeah.
there's still work, no doubt, but it's just not the same.
Got you. I hear you loud and clear. Are there any sort of misconceptions that you come across in new authors, or when they think about the book writing process? What kind of
Yes,
misconceptions out there?
yes, I'm so glad you asked this. One of the worst is that people think that their first book
Mhm.
needs to be their opus.
Okay.
It needs to be their masterpiece. Um, and it needs to be long. Like
Right.
it's the those things those are all wrong. Um, the first book, like if you ask any painter, hey, what do you think of your first painting? They're gonna go, oh, my first painting was horrible.
Right.
Like and I even tell like, hey, my first book was pretty
Yeah.
marginal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, your first book is a tool in your business. It is to establish authority and it is to help people understand you're an expert. It is not meant to be your legacy, though it can be.
Hmm.
And but it is just a really effective and powerful tool in your brand. And it shouldn't include the sum total of your knowledge and wisdom. It shouldn't be your opus. And the longer you make it, the fewer people will read it.
Right.
So we tell people target like 25 to 40,000 words, maybe 50,000 words. That's going to make a book of between 120 and a couple hundred pages. The idea is like thick, long enough so that it's a book, not a pamphlet, um, enough room to get your message across, and short enough to read on a cross-country flight.
Mm.
Like that's the magic formula. And when you
Yeah.
break out of that, people don't finish your book, and you want them
Right.
to finish your book.
Right, right, right. And even now, if you just think of sort of all the competing priorities or the distractions, the things that get our attention, as long as and we just talk about how books have been around and they continue to be around, they'll be around for a long time. There's still lots of competing priorities, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I'm sitting there staring at a 600 page tome, like am I even going to start it? Like, because I already know what the odds are of me finishing it. So am I even going to start it? You may remember some years ago, Tony Robbins came out with this giant book on money. And it was like 600 pages. And all these people were raving about what a great book this is, blah, 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 blah. I can promise you a fraction of those people actually read, especially finished that book
Right.
because it's just too much.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just too much.
Hmm. Hmm. Tony should have checked in with you. You could give him some advice there, help him out.
Yeah, that's right. We can talk about it. And that's the hard part when an author comes to us and they go, well, I've written 100,000 words. And you're like, uh, is it possible you've written two or maybe three books in
Yeah,
that? You
yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, but it's one of the joys of working with authors and helping guide them on this journey because they don't have to flounder around
Sure,
not knowing,
sure.
we know how these things go.
I would love to get your insights on the advent of AI and how that's contributed to the book writing
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
You're seeing more and more people sort of taking advantage of that. I mean, I think we can all agree that AI has its limitations in terms of what it can do. It can do a lot of wonderful things, but the piece around being able to really connect our stories with individuals it still is a miss, and perhaps that may be solved down the road. But where we're at right now, there's certainly a gap. But I still think there's some uses, and it can be helpful. I want to just give your thoughts on that, and how do you think AI contributes to the book writing process?
Yeah, I think that AI is a fantastic tool to aid in the process.
Mhm.
It is so good at helping brainstorm, helping organize. If, you know, one of the things, in fact, give a quick business model or a
Sure.
quick book model to your listeners. One of the fastest ways to write an effective book for a business is just to think of what are the frequently asked questions people ask you all the time about your business.
Okay.
Think of those frequently asked questions, brainstorm on those, and then each one of those becomes a brief chapter in your book. It is such a quick way to write a book. That's the way we wrote our first book.
So,
And we actually dictated it in a couple hours. That became the foundation for it because those frequently asked questions, you already know the answers and you speak them every day because
sure.
people are always asking you those. So it's not like it's hard to get it out of your head.
Right.
Well, where AI, I think, is great is it can do a great job of giving you those frequently asked questions and
Mhm.
giving you some aspects about those that you probably hadn't considered. And that if you'd taken some time, you went, oh, that'd be great. Um, AI also has some really interesting things. You wanna take a journey down the road of humility. Um, Upload your book into ChatGPT and ask it to write a hostile review. It is brutal. It is just brutal. But you'll learn some things doing that. At first, you'll learn your skin's not thick enough, and that even a computer can insult you. And then, but you will learn things about your book. I think AI, of course, some people are using it to write books whole cloth,
Mhm.
and um, pretty soon, I feel like we're going to have our AIs writing books for other AIs to read, and it's just going to be this circle. I don't
It's like
even
the
know,
reference.
But I think it's a useful tool in the creative process. I think it's
Sure.
a
Yeah.
useful tool in the crafting and cleanup. Um, Obviously, I don't think too many of us are interested in reading a book that we think was entirely written by AI. Like it's the human perspective.
Yes.
Like oddly, I'm sure there is some magical AI podcast host tool like that would just create a fake oddly to interview me and ask questions, and then
Right.
I could just put my AI on to answer the questions. And but we lack the human element and the humor
Sure.
and
Sure.
all of that. I think it's going to be interesting because right now Amazon lacks the tools to determine if something is objectively written by AI.
Mhm.
And so they are asking people to just voluntarily say, did you write parts of this by AI? And it's an interesting world. Now we've got AI audiobooks, AI translations, all sorts of things. One really exciting thing, oddly, there is a new book format about to be launched
Okay.
in the next couple months. Uh, and it is incredible. I have my book in that format. I've been working with the developer. Um, it is set where if someone buys your book,
Yep.
you can read the book on Kindle or like a Kindle style. With a flick of a switch, you can read it in a different language. With a flick of a switch, you can have it read you the audiobook. Um, and I mean, it's good, it's solid. And then you can go, you know what? I don't like that voice. I'd rather a woman's voice read it,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And then you go, you know what? Actually, I'd rather hear it in French. Boom, flick of a switch. It's in French being read to you. Um, and then you can turn around and talk to the book. You could say, hey, could you, you're like, what's the key point of chapter 3 in this book? Oh, well, the key point is, and it just talks back to you. And you could say, hey, would you compare the writing style of The Power of the Published to How to Win Friends and Influence People? And it's just going to tell me this. It's crazy. It's the most interactive thing I've seen, the most powerful thing I've seen. We are on the cusp. Like Kindle was invented, the
Yep.
audiobook was invented.
Yep.
Well, the audiobook was invented a long time ago with cassettes, right?
Yep.
But this is the new format,
Next
and
level.
and I'm just so excited to see what traction it gives us.
No, it's exciting. No, you're absolutely right, and it can do so much more, offer so much too, much more as well too. And I think that's what the beauty of it, and because to follow those trends are just it's great to see. I'm wondering, for authors out there, or aspiring authors that are looking to sort of make meaningful change in the world, and get their book out there. Is there sort of one piece of advice you'd give or share with them to do that?
Yeah, do it. I mean, the worst manuscript is the one that's sitting on a hard drive, right? It's something that someone's developed, they started it, whatever. um, do it and don't feel like you have to do it alone. There are book coaches that can guide people through a process. There are, of course, publishers, content editors. There are so many resources available now, and AI, Chat GPT. Start dropping your ideas into an AI and use it to help you formulate. Um, it's the crime is when people have a message and a calling and then they keep it to themselves because they're intimidated by the process or scared about how much time it's going to take or whatever. And there are ways to do things in the time in the time budget or the money budget that you have available. There are ways.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. Ever just for finally here and sort of thinking about this podcast again, we encourage, audacious living. So, I mean, in terms of, what it means to you, audacious living, what that means. And then, you talk about how, that fits into the publishing world and how does that sort of fit into that vision?
Well, I mean, putting a book out puts you on the international stage. It takes you, it outs you, with your philosophies and your knowledge and puts it out there. And so I think it fits quite nicely with living audaciously. The truth is that most of us, well, I mean, the statistics say that 90% plus of people have said to themselves they want to write a book at some point. Okay. Which is crazy, insane to me.
Mhm.
Um, and yet, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of the population ever accomplish that. So when you publish a book, you are breathing rare air. There, you are among the smallest of percentages,
Interesting.
and that comes with privileges. That comes with benefits, and some of them are internal.
Gotcha.
Um, the internal posture that changes when you see your book on Amazon and you see people reading your book or whatever, that has a really unexpected interior benefit. I never saw that coming.
Wow. And it's interesting that you commented being rare air, if you will, in terms of people actually write books because there's so much books that are out there, right? And so it's wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there are, but still if there's a lot of people out there too.
Yes, this is
And
also.
And readers read a lot of books. So there's room, there's room. And a lot of people get hung up on, am I the expert? What do I have to say that's unique? Should I say it? Who am I to put this in a book and put this out there? But I say this, there are people out there who are uniquely positioned and their ears are uniquely tuned to hear that message and to hear it only from you. So it isn't a question of who are you to put this in a book. It's who are you to withhold it, right? Who are you to make that decision because those people may never hear that message if you're not the one saying it. So that's why I say do it.
Love it. I love it. Everett, this has been very, very insightful and informative chat. For listeners who out there, aspiring authors that are going, he sparked something in me, and maybe this is the road I want to go down. Let me connect with Everett. How can they do so?
I've got two ways. First, a quick way, if you go to mypodcastperk.com, you can get a free copy of my book, The Power of the Published. That's mypodcastperk.com. And then the second one is if you've got an idea for a nonfiction book that you're going to use in your business or brand, reach out to me at our website. It's ignitepress.us, ignitepress.us. And you can schedule a consultation directly with me because I love to sit down and meet people and talk with them about their books.
Amazing. Well, and we're going to make sure that the contact details are in the show notes below. Everett, this has been, again, delightful conversation, really insightful, and I am thankful that you had a message here to share. Again, this has been great. So thank you for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Man, Audley, thank you. And keep doing what you're doing. You are Aaron and her. You are holding up the arms of others as they share their messages, and keep doing that.
Will do. As long as you continue doing yours, we'll both.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to try to catch up to you.
I was going to say, you be Aaron, I'll be her. How's that? Does that work?
There we go. We're both doing it.
All right, thanks. This is great. Back we're here on the podcast, we're in a conversation with Everett. He shared his insights on the publishing journey, the importance of storytelling, and the incursion every aspiring author needs to break through their self-doubt. One of the main points from our discussion was the reminder that the first book doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be written. I personally love how Everett's passion for helping others shine through and his storytelling approach adds depth to his work, resonating deeply with those looking to share their stories. If you felt inspired by Everett's journey and insight, I would encourage you to connect with him directly. Of course, as always, you can find his contact details in the show notes below. Also, and you don't want to miss out on this special offer, you can get a free copy of his book, The Power of the Published. It's available at mypodcastperk.com. I want to thank you for listening and tuning into another episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. I hope you found today's episode as inspiring as I have, and it'll encourage you to embrace your own journey and live audaciously. Remember, just like our conversation today, every great adventure starts with a single step. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I ask really that you like, follow, subscribe, or share. If you haven't done so, of course, this helps us grow our community. Your support makes such a difference. As you navigate your own path, I want you to think of it as setting sail on a vast ocean with endless possibilities. With courage and a story to tell, you are well on your way to discovering the life you were meant to live. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audacious Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.